All right, guys, happy Tuesday. So, taking a look, you can see our assignments for today. So, some of you seem very confused about what you need to do every day. I go over it in the video. It's listed in this yellow box, as well as this slide is its own separate slide in the presentation. So, please make sure that you complete 1, 2, and 3 from the yellow box today. I say it several times throughout the video too. So, today you're going to need your notebooks, not your workbooks, but your notebooks to go through our slide presentation. When you are done, you're going to do your Google form, and the last thing you need to do is complete 15 minutes of iReady. I want to remind you that our Spirit Day on Friday is to wear red for pride, as well as if you can wear some Phillies gear, that would be great. You will be uploading your pictures to the link that I provide to you on Friday. A reminder that for Google Meets, our schedule was posted yesterday. You can see that there are time changes, and I want to remind you that on Thursday, I will be in school packing up my homeroom's belongings and my math class. So if you look to reach me through email, I might not be able to respond as quickly as I normally do. But if you are listed under Tuesday, my blue group, I'll see you at 1 o'clock. Check your emails for the link. And also my Tuesday green group, you guys are going to go at 1:30. Check your emails for the link. All right, so again, here are our two math standards that we're practicing. So we're using parentheses, brackets, or braces in numerical expressions to evaluate expressions and write simple expressions that record calculations with numbers and interpret numerical expressions without evaluating them. So we are not moving on to our develop lesson. We are going to sit tight in our explore lesson today and get a little bit more practice with understanding the rules of order of operations. So if you haven't gotten your math notebook and a pencil, please grab that now. Open up to a new page. You can put order of operations at the top. You can label it lesson 30, whatever you want to put at the top of that page. So before we begin, I want to remind you of the 3 steps. Several of you yesterday, you just clicked the first operation that you saw on your Google Forms and called it a day. That tells me that you probably didn't watch the video very well and interact with the video, and you didn't try to independently apply what I taught to your Google form. I sent several of you a review or reteaching of the Google form from yesterday, so please take a look at your Google Classroom and your email to see if you were somebody who received that video. Now, you have to follow these rules no matter what. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter if you are doing math in 5th grade or math at your parents' age, you have to follow order of operations. If not, we won't all get the same answer, and that's really important to be consistent. So, taking a look, the very first step you do is you solve anything with grouping symbols. Okay? The next step is you multiply or divide. So any part that has multiplying or dividing, you do that next. And if there's multiplying and dividing in the same problem, you do it from left to right. And then after you've done your grouping symbols, you've multiplied and divide, if there's any adding or subtracting in the problem, that's your very last step. And you do it from left to right. The only time adding and subtracting would come first would be if it was inside grouping symbols. So just to review, we're going to highlight the operation that we would do first. So you can see that both of these problems look very similar. They use the same digits, the same operations. It's just that one of them has parentheses and the other one doesn't. So I want you to take note of what you do first in each of these problems. So in number 1, I don't have any grouping symbols, so I can't do that first. But I do have multiplying or dividing. So because I have multiplying or dividing, in order to solve this problem, I have to do 2 times 4 first and get 8, and then add 2 to get an answer of 10. So the word evaluate means to solve. So again, in this problem, To evaluate or solve this expression, I have to multiply first. 2 times 4 is 8, and then I add. Let's take a look at number 2, because again, it's similar. You can see that in this problem, I do have grouping symbols, which means that I have to do whatever comes inside these parentheses first. So in this problem, we're actually starting with the back. And I have to do 4 plus 2 first because it's inside grouping symbols. 4 plus 2 is 6. Then my next step would be to do 2 times 6, and I would get an answer of 12. So again, you can see that these did not equal the same thing. Order matters. You have to follow order of operations. Alrighty. So today we're actually going to practice solving or evaluating our expressions below. So I want to start with this one here. I would like for you to copy down 5 plus 3, put it inside parentheses, divided by 4 in your notebook. So we're going to follow the steps of order of operations to solve this problem. So the first thing that I need to solve is, you can see here, the first thing I need to solve is inside the parentheses. So you're going to see how I have the first step red and underlined to go along with the steps to solve the problem. So the first thing we have to do is 5 plus 3. So in your head, what is 5 plus 3? All right, so you get 8. So we're going to rewrite the problem. Look how we're going to rewrite it as 8 divided by 4. So you can see we eliminated or simplified 5 plus 3 and wrote that as 8. And now I can solve. 8 divided by 4 is my next step. So my final answer is 2. So again, you're trying to make the problem smaller and smaller until you have one number left following these steps. All right, so go ahead and copy down 8 divided by the difference of 6 minus 2. And when I say the difference of, that means the answer to. So that tells me I need parentheses. All right, so following these steps, ask yourself, do I have grouping symbols? If I do that first. So the first thing I'm going to do is 6 minus 2. You'll see that I have that underlined as my first step. All right, so now I'm going to solve these red numbers and I'm going to rewrite it as 8 divided by whatever this equals. So again, in your head, 6 minus 2, recopy the 8, recopy the division sign, and we're going to replace 6 minus 2 with 4, because 6 minus 2 is 4. And then you can go ahead and solve, and believe it or not, this problem also equals a 2. So again, notice how we started here, we solved this, and we wrote it as a 4, and then we brought down the 8, we brought down the division sign, and then we solved. All right. So I would like for you to copy these 2 problems down in your notebook. You're going to push pause on the video, follow these steps at the top of the slide, and then when you are done, come back and push play and we'll go over them. All right, so taking a look at the first one, 10 times 6 minus 8. I can say that as 10, the product of 10 and 6 decreased by 8. So we're also going to be practicing saying these in a much more mathematical way as we go through this topic. So the first thing I'm looking for is, are there any grouping symbols? I don't see any grouping symbols in my first problem, so I go right to step 2. Is there any multiplying or dividing? The answer to that is yes, so that's what I do next. And you can see it right here. So on my little box here, when I reveal it, you can see that the first thing I'm going to do is 10 times 6. So you can underline that part of your problem, and we're going to solve that. So 10 times 6 is 60. So I'm going to replace this part of my expression with a 60, and you'll see that I'm going to bring down the minus sign, bring down the 8. And now I can go ahead and solve. So I should have, so I got an answer of 52. All right, taking a look at the next one. 9 minus 6 divided by 2. So for this one, again, I don't see anything from my first step. I don't have any grouping symbols, so I go right to my next part. Multiply and dividing. And again, the answer to that is yes, I do have that step, and you can see it right here. So you should have either underlined 6 divided by 2. Some people circle it. If we were in school, I'd put a box around it. And again, that's going to be our first step. So for this problem, we're actually starting in the back. So 6 divided by 2 is your first step. I bring that down. You can see how it's highlighted. So I'm going to solve this part and replace it in my expression. So I'm going to bring down the 9. Keep the subtraction sign. I'm going to replace 6 divided by 2 with a 3. And now I can go ahead and solve. And the answer to this expression, 9 minus 6 divided by 2, equals 6 when you follow order of operations. Now, if you were to go 9 minus 6, you would have gotten 3, and then you would have gotten 3 divided by 2, and you would have gotten an answer of 1/2. That's a big deal. If we're not following the same steps, you can see that we're not always then going to get the same answers. So that's why order of operations is important. Alrighty, so we're going to take a look at these last two for today. I would like for you to copy them down in your notebook, push pause on the video and try and solve them yourself, and when you're ready, come back and push play. All right. So again, in this first one, I have 6 minus 10 divided by 5. I notice that there's no grouping symbol, so I go right to the second step. Multiply and divide. Well, I see that 10 divided by 5 is right here, so I have to do that first. So again, you can see that I identify that as my first step that I'm going to solve. 10 divided by 5 is 2, so I'm going to keep the 6. Keep the subtraction sign, but I'm going to replace this part with the 2. And now I can go ahead and solve, and you should have gotten an answer of 4. All right. So let's take a look at our last problem that we're going to do together. I have the sum of 6 and 3 divided by 9. The reason why I read that as the sum of 6 and 3 is because sum means the answer to an addition problem. And that means when I have these parentheses, I want to take the answer to this addition problem, the sum, and divide it by 9. So again, the sum of 6 and 3 divided by 9, looking at my steps at the top. Step 1, are there grouping symbols? The answer to that is yes. So that means that's what I underline first. I'm going to do 6 plus 3, and I'm going to replace that with the sum of 6 and 3, which is 9. I'm going to bring down the division sign and bring down the other 9. So you'll see 9 divided by 9 should give you a final answer of 1. Now, if you're still feeling confused before you watch, before you go and do your Google form, you can go back and watch the video from yesterday. You can email me. You can go to YouTube and search Order of Operations to see additional videos. So please make sure that you reach out if you need the help or use the resources that you have. Don't forget, if you have owed work, please make sure that you complete that. I'm still waiting on several of you to finish your Flipgrids from Friday. Please remember that any incomplete work gets a score of an I in the grade book. But if you make it up, I will go back in and adjust your grade. All right, guys, some of you I'll be seeing later for our Google Meets. And then the rest of you, I hope that I'll get to see you later this week. Have a great Tuesday.